Great, thanks, Donna. I really appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cynthia Greene, and I work with Shelburne Farms in Vermont Feed on farm to early childhood. And I had the opportunity to quickly sort of look through the roster this morning, and I know that I've met a number of you, but for those I have not met, I am an early educator by occupation. I came up as a teacher. I've taught everyone from, the brand newbies all the way up through grade 3, both in public and private settings. And so this is a topic, farm to school and early childhood, is near and dear to my heart because my personal passions are also cooking and gardening. I'm a master gardener. So this is right up my alley. And if you're joining me today, then you're here to learn a little bit about farm to school and early childhood, the grants program that occurs through the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, and our request, which is that our legislature fully fund the program at $500,000. So with that, we'll see. I'm going to share a few slides if I can. And please let me know. Can you all see my screen? Okay, thanks, Darla. It's always one of those, I think someone said in the previous session, every platform is just slightly different. So I would encourage folks, if you want to, in the chat, pop in your name, your role, and the county maybe where you're from, just so we sort of have who's here in the room. That's really helpful. I'll let folks also know I can't see all of you even with 2 screens. So if you have a question, as Darla said, feel free to pop it in the chat or even unmute. I'm pretty informal, and I'd rather catch your question when you have it than miss your question, because sometimes monitoring chat is also a challenge. So please feel free to chime in. So here we go. Our issue, I just said, it really is called the Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants Program. And again, that grants program is administered through our Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets. And our primary legislative ask this year in 2022 is to fully fund this grant program at $500,000 and to make that an annual allocation. We'll get into a little bit of the background, the history, and kind of where we are currently in just a minute. But what we have found, this amount, this $500,000, was really calculated based on the demand and the need within Vermont, both within early childhood and our school-based programming. And there's a large portion of that is currently unmet. So that's our ask of our legislature this year. A little history then about farm to school and early childhood. Farm to school in Vermont has been around for a number of decades now, starting back really in the late 1990s and then early 2000, it says right there. Vermont Feed, which stands for Food Education Every Day, was formed really with the idea of creating the farm to school effort and the farm to school programming, what it is, why we would want to implement farm to school. And then fast forward 7 years, we finally have kind of a landmark legislation in Vermont, which is the Rosa-McLaughlin Farm to School Act. And that kind of codified through the legislative action this grants program that was developed and then housed within our Agency of Agriculture. And to my knowledge, it's probably one of the first legislative farm to school acts in the nation. So it was pretty significant. You can see along the timeline then, motions and movements. There was dedicated staff within our agency. Then we formed a Vermont Farm to School network. And then it's not until 2017, however, that the Rosa-McLaughlin Farm to School Act was updated to actually include early childhood. So our edition, our field hasn't gained access to this until pretty recently. And I would suggest that the demand and the numbers are pretty staggering to look at from 2018, fiscal year 2018 moving forward. And in 2017, what that update really did was it really made this grants program accessible to early childhood, any early childhood programs that are regulated within the state of Vermont. You can then see there's the Northeast Farm to School Institute. That's a year-long coached program. That was opened in 2018, and then we jumped to 2022 with our current ask. You can currently see our base funding is almost $172,000. And again, we've been making this $500,000 ask for a number of years, and we really feel like this is the year to do it. In a large budget, state budget, this isn't a ton of money, and yet the demand is there. The grants program really helps cauterize it, creates the structures and the supports to help implement farm to school and early childhood. And it's really what school-based programs in the early childhood field, the demand is warranting. So we really want to raise beyond that base funding level of $172,000 to that $500,000 ask annually. So what is farm to early childhood? Just to set a level playing field here. Really what it is it's an integrated approach. And I kind of chuckle as an early educator and someone who operated as a director at Burlington Children's Space for over a decade. You know, I kind of chuckle and say, we do this every day. We're outside digging in the dirt. We're talking about plants and bugs. We're engaging our community and our family members almost on a daily basis. But what farm to early childhood is this framework and approach then to probably education, not probably, but to education, our pedagogy and our curriculum. It's teeing that up with food systems, food and nutrition education. So helping children understand where their food comes from. It's incorporating perhaps, and we hope, local food into meals and meal services if you offer it. And if you don't offer meal services through your education setting, then how are we talking to parents about where food comes from, nutritious food, local food, and how do we support our local farmers? And so it's this lens where then you sort of leverage in the early childhood setting both your educational practices and your food purchasing habits to frame up farm to early childhood activities. And so there's a lot that can fall within this. Within Vermont, we really talk about the 3 C's of farm to school and early childhood. And so as I just sort of described, we put these practices into 3 buckets. And the first bucket really is around your curriculum and your pedagogy and what we're teaching in classrooms and where we're teaching. We hope you're teaching outside of classrooms. We love it when schools have outdoor classrooms, right? We love it when the cafeteria is used as a classroom or the kitchen is used as a classroom in an early childhood setting. So really thinking about where we're teaching kids and what we're teaching them. The second area then that we call a C is the cafeteria in the school-based programming, and we kind of chuckle in early childhood, we call it cucina or kitchen, but it's really thinking about what food is in our program or what are our policies around how we use food in our program. How do we talk about food in our program and where that food comes from and who's connected to that food? There's so many players around where food comes from long before that food gets to our table. So how are we discussing that and how are we accessing our kitchens to help support those conversations and that understanding? And then the third C is really around community. And again, this builds right off of early childhood education practices and our quality rating and improvement system stars. So really thinking about our community engagement. And in particular, we are thinking about food systems folks, right? So we're thinking about certainly our farmers and wanting to support them, but we're also thinking about the local bakery down the street. We're thinking about the parent who might drive a truck for a food distribution center. We're thinking about all of those food system pieces and how we engage with them and how we leverage, but then also support them. So we also want to talk about in early farm to school and early childhood, the mutually reinforcing and benefiting aspects of it, because all players stand to benefit from this type of programming. And when all of that is kind of operating smoothly, we think about this integrated farm to early childhood or farm to school and early childhood programming within schools and within early childhood centers. So the next thing is, that's great. That's what it's all about. Those are the components that we think about, but why would we want to implement this? And really, there's one thing I will say is farm to early childhood to me is really this comprehensive kind of does it all. It's actually Center for Disease Control at the federal level. It's a research-informed, approved program to meet child obesity. So it can be utilized through things like what we call SNAP-Ed programming. It's accessed through the National Farm to School Network. There are the Association of State Public Health Nutritionists are promoting farm to school and early childhood, again, all from the benefits of helping children learn healthy eating behaviors and with an idea towards reducing childhood obesity. It also supports quality early childhood education. So again, thinking about that pedagogy, thinking about professional development. How does that professional development and the family engagement and the community engagement intersect with our quality rating and improvement system, the step ahead recognition system? So, you know, farm to early childhood has this health component, it has a child development component, and then it has this community component about can also open up new markets to farmers. It supports our local economy. It's kind of this one-stop shop for implementation. And so you can see here, you know, again, it supports and is aligned. There's been a lot of work aligning farm to early childhood activities with our standards, with Head Start programmatic standards. And it also supports equity food security through concrete supports of food. And then obviously we hope that we might be building future sustainability and the next generation of consumers, right, who want to purchase local healthy food. So that's a little bit about why we're talking about early childhood. And then the current structure of farm to school and early childhood initiatives, again, primarily the ones that I'll talk about and the ones that are attached to our legislative allocation request really come out of our Agency of Agriculture. There are many partners that help support this across our state, but this grants program that we're asking to receive the $500,000 allocation for is really housed within our Agency of Agriculture. And so there is a link in here. There are several links in here, just so you know, and you all can have access to this slideshow presentation in the Whova documents folder. But there is an impact report if folks are interested. So there's a brand new impact report that just came out. So that's this highlighted piece here. But the grants program really right now through the Agency of Agriculture, what I will say is this agency has been super flexible and really responsive to the needs of our field and to our schools. Currently, folks might know that the community supported agriculture grant actually just closed. There were almost 40 applications with an anticipated 15 to 20 awards. And I know that the agency is already considering how to support more awards if you know, because of the need, again, unmet need. So that just closed, it's in review. Prior to that, late last fall, the Farm to School and Early Childhood Child Nutrition Grant, RFA went out. There were 5 awards, 3 of which went to early childhood programs. And these are 18-month-long grants. They come with technical assistance and a grant coach for the 18 months, and then a financial award that's anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000. And again, the fact that, you know, early childhood has just been added really since the fiscal year 2018, and yet 3 out of the 5 grants went to early childhood programs this year speaks to the demand and to the readiness of our field to think about farm to early childhood more comprehensively. And then the third option, which I think is open now, I should have known that, I should have checked, or will be open, is the Farm to School Vision Grant. And this is a much larger sort of systemic type of grant. And it's relatively new. I think last year was the first time the Agency of Agriculture offered this particular grant. And again, we think about this, our Agency of Ag thinks about this as a continuum of support. So we're looking at the early years, then we're looking at the school-based, all elementary, and then all the way up into high school. Again, this grants program comes with formal training, professional development for educators and for teams. It also comes with technical assistance from a variety of community network partners. And then it comes with actual funding to implement. And so this is why we want the $500,000. To give a little more background and context to farm to school and early childhood in the state of Vermont, again, Vermont Feed is a collaboration between the Northeast Organic Farming Association and Shelburne Farms, but we also work with additional partners. And through this organization, in this collaboration, we offer a lot of professional development opportunities. And you can see farm to early childhood professional development over the past 3 or 4 years we've really tied this and tried to tie farm to early childhood professional development to our PD system. So for instance, there are opportunities that are introductory at workshop level. We offer a 3-credit course in farm to early childhood. You can receive Northern Lights training hours for this. You can receive collegiate level credit at the graduate or undergraduate level through Castleton University. And we have tapped into both the Early Childhood Summer Institute and the Vermont AEYC annual conference in previous years. So we're really trying to network across the professional development systems to ensure that anyone interested in receiving these grants, this technical assistance and professional development can actually receive credit, which of course ties into our quality rating and improvement system as well. And then we have the Northeast Farm to School Institute, which I mentioned, that happens through Vermont Feed at Shelburne Farms annually. And one of the things that we're really proud about actually in Vermont was fortunate to have received grant funding to begin a farm to early childhood coalition. And again, we did this in partnership with the Agency of Agriculture, but it was through a grant with the Association of State Public Health Nutritionists. It started in 2020. We're in obviously our second year. It started in really late, like December of 2020, so really 2021. And what we've done through that coalition is we've managed to network farm to early childhood and the work that the coalition is taking on into our existing Vermont Farm to School network. And so now we are called Vermont Farm to School and Early Childhood Network. So there is a network. It has lots of resources, lots of local partners, and I encourage folks to check it out. And then the last piece, I'll just remind folks, there is a national farm to school network. And again, this movement has been going on for a couple of decades, but again, really great resources, and all of the efforts in Vermont through these different entities are tied into this national network as well. Questions so far? I haven't seen anything come through, but that doesn't mean I'm not missing you. So one of the things that I just really wanted to highlight that this Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants program offers is that it really offers this structure to help support implementation. And it does that through the financial award. So again, this is money that goes directly to schools or to programs, to their farm to school and or farm to early childhood team to actually spend money on farm to school and farm to early childhood initiatives within the program. So it's programming support, that financial award. But I think one of the most important aspects in the structure of this grants program is that it comes with the technical assistance and coaching. And this is really critical because what we help folks do, what we help teams do is there's an action planning process and there's a rubric so people can see what could farm to school or what could farm to early childhood look like in my program. How will we get there? There's we can do a team action planning. We talk about farm to school and early childhood value statements. What do we value about education? What do we value about our community? What do we value about food? And then how do we integrate those values into our programming? And so a lot of these components, again, I'll say we do this in early childhood. We have policies and handbooks. We have wellness policies that we talk about, and farm to early childhood policy fits right into that. Value statements can fit right into that. And so this technical assistance and this coaching helps with that action planning. And then of course, the financial award helps implement that action plan. So this is what this money helps pay for. And some of the partners the primary partners that really assist with that technical assistance and the coaching component of the grants program. I've already talked about Vermont Feed, and we do a lot of curriculum. And then our partner, NOFA, really helps with procurement and creating those connections to our farmers and our food producers. Hunger Free Vermont then takes on a really great role around meal programming. And they're very helpful if you don't offer a meal program in your early childhood setting. So certainly that's relevant for school-based programs. If you're not operating an early meal service in an early childhood program, they're really great though at helping think about food security, how to reduce stigma. If you have families that are struggling, how do you open up those conversations around food and food policy within your early childhood setting? So they're a really great resource for technical assistance in that area. And then of course, we work with the Vermont Garden Network around gardening, on-site gardening, we hope. And so those are our technical assistance pieces. So another quick reminder then, and I am going to do this quickly. This is what I meant to do. So a reminder, sorry, I lost my place. A reminder about our ask and our primary committees where we're really working with. One of the lovely pieces about this, in a way, our legislative ask this year is that it's not tied to a bill. It really is about an allocation, and that kind of streamlines then. If we have some good talking points, and we know why farm to early childhood fits into our systems, we can be really clear about why this financial request is so important. And that's what it is. It's an allocation request this year. There's no need to worry about a bill or tying in those pieces. We already have the Roswell-McLaughlin Act in place, and we just want to leverage that in order to get full funding for this grants program. So the primary committees that we work with are both the Senate and House agriculture committees, and then the appropriation committees. And I do have great appreciation. Our whole team has great appreciation. Both of our House Agriculture Committee and then our Senate Agriculture Committee have been very supportive. Our House Agriculture Committee actually put farm to school, full funding for farm to school and early childhood grants program in their budget memo, which is incredibly helpful. So those are the avenues that we've been activating so far. And then again, just a reminder that this is the grants program, and we are seeking full funding at the $500,000 level, and we want it annually so that there's no slide back, which has been the case in previous years. That would be the ask of our legislators. And I also have an ask to any of you who are interested in showing your own personal support. This is a live link. It will take you to the Vermont Farm to School and Early Childhood Network website, where there is a live digital form that you can sign on to. It's a supporter card. It's super quick and easy. It takes less than 5 minutes. But if you wanted to show your personal support and you access the supporter card for that, those supporter cards then, once you sign them, they go to your direct legislators. So it's not just a blanket to anybody. We actually utilize them strategically so that it creates a connection between you and your specific legislators. So that's something that you could do personally as well. And then the last piece that I wanted to leave folks with, whoops, technical blip. See if we can go back here. There we go. Sorry about that. Are some talking points. And this really gets to some of the impact data that comes out of the Agency of Agriculture grants report, Farm to Early Childhood, Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants Impact Report. It also comes out of some data that we've collected just across our state in general. So the first couple, and again, I'll leave this up for a little bit, but within the time frame since 2007 of this grants program, we've impacted over 50,000 Vermont children. And to me, that's pretty impressive. With relatively little money, we're talking about less than $200,000 a year to support the structure, the technical assistance, and then the financial awards. So that's pretty impressive. And since 2018, the farm to early childhood side of things, nearly 70 early childhood providers have been supported through the various grant streams that I offered up earlier. We also did a poll with our Lerner College of Medicine through UVM. And in that poll, 91% of our early childhood providers said that they were interested in implementing farm to early childhood, but really couldn't find a lot of professional development. And so that's why only 21 actually felt that they could access professional development around it. So that's why we've really been beefing up that technical assistance and the training and the professional development opportunities to help folks think about farm to early childhood and the activities that they're already doing and how they might fit into this more integrated approach. And then you can see there's a couple in here around food insecurity. I know you've heard probably through other legislative agenda items, food insecurity is on the rise. And again, accessing local foods through this grants program helps not only farmers with their markets, expanding their market access, but it helps support early childhood providers in accessing food, which then of course goes directly to children. So that sort of concrete support in times of need piece fits in nicely with farm to early childhood and food security. The other piece that I can just talk about briefly that I love this fall, our Farm to Early Childhood Coalition with the Farm to School and Early Childhood Network embarked on just a campaign to thank farmers. And we talked about it as This Farm Feeds Vermont Kids. And what we learned is over 100 Vermont farms actually sell directly to early childhood programs and to schools in Vermont. And so this connection has been, it's been heartening is like the least I can say about it. We have some really fantastic responses from our early childhood providers who, for instance, engaged in a community supported agriculture grant, a CSA, and talk about what it was like to get that box every Friday and open it with the kids. And it was kind of like a gift, a surprise gift. They weren't sure what was going to be in it. They weren't sure how they were going to use it, but it was this incredible opportunity to talk about food and to talk about the person that was just down the road who helped grow it and all of the people who helped bring that food together to the early childhood site. And so again, thinking about our neighbors, right? We don't eat without farmers. And so thinking about them and how to support them and bring them into this is a big part of the grants program as well. And the very last piece that our legislators like to learn about and know about it, and they know this already, I think, but it still helps us to keep in mind that farm to early childhood and farm to school, really when we're purchasing local food, helps keep our dollars local. And so for every dollar spent on local food for a school meal or an early childhood meal actually helps give 60 cents back to that local community. So it's like keeping $1.60 in our community. And that's really important for Vermont these days when we want to support ourselves and thinking about our economy and how to support all of the different types of programming and legislative agendas out there. So farm to school and early childhood can offer that as well, keeping our dollars local. And that really is our overview.
Cynthia,
yes.
There is a quick question in the chat from Lisa. She's asking if it's okay to share with our region providers and also if they want to sign. I think she's talking about the piece you shared earlier in your presentation.
I would love, Lisa, for you to do that. And in fact, I will, let's see if I can do this. I'm pretty sure I can. Let me know if the screen doesn't change. Can you guys see the new website, or do you still see the slide?
School buses on it?
Yeah. So you can just see in the slides, and again, I can show you in just a minute on Whovo where you can find my slide presentation. I just clicked on that link, and this is where it takes you. This is our new Farm to School and Early Childhood website. If you scroll down to the bottom, pardon for scrolling, I have to do that. Here is our digital Farm to School supporter card. And so this is where you would go ahead and fill out this form. And then, as I said, our network takes that and makes sure that your specific legislators receive it. So your talking points can go right in here. And yes, we'd love for you to share this far and wide. That would be great. And just so folks can see, this is kind of where you'll land when you go on that particular link. But just so you see our new website, we're really proud about this. We worked really hard with the Vermont Farm to Early Childhood Coalition on updating this. So this is our new website with the integrated approach for Farm to School and Farm to Early Childhood. Lots of really great resources here too. I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see folks. It's always hard about presenting. Any questions, either about what the program is, how it integrates with our early childhood system overall, questions about what our ask is. And I see so many faces who have actually participated. So I'd also invite, if you're feeling brave and you want to share from your own experience, I'd love to hear if anybody wants to share an experience with this program. And it's quiet. That's okay. I didn't want to put anybody on the spot either and say, hey, you've participated in the grants program. Tell us about your experience. We're never sure who will show up.
Cynthia, I'm happy to share. And I see that I have a lot of coworkers on this call, which is really exciting.
Thanks,
yeah,
Maggie.
I'm from North Shore Day School, like many people on the call, and we have been recipients of both the community supported agriculture grant and the child nutrition grant. We've also participated in the Farm to School Institute. And it is our reason that participation and those things, the grant funding, especially the coaching and technical support that Cynthia mentioned. I have to say the proof is in the pudding right here today. I was trying to count how many of us from our program were on this call. It's amazing. But we have really with those supports, managed to grow a Farm to School initiative that is program wide and community based. So I just offer myself as I'm happy to answer any questions and share experiences if folks are interested.
Maggie, thanks so much. And the one thing, Maggie, since you offered it now, if you don't mind, I'll speak just quickly. I think the amazing thing about this is that this touches on a lot of people's different types of passions. You know, obviously working with children, thinking about your local community, family engagement, thinking about equity, right, and inclusion. And so one of the things I think that's fun is seeing people kind of come into this with wonder and curiosity, and then growing excitement and planning for their own program. And then I'm going to out Maggie by saying Maggie even went so far, she's now a coach for Farm to Early Childhood for another team in the Bennington area. And so there are opportunities to grow through this grants program, your own personal sort of endeavors and professional growth, if you want to say, in a supported way. So it really is a community. And I think that's what this grants program helps foster, without a doubt. So Maggie, thanks to you. Greatly appreciated. Any thoughts about how folks might consider talking to their legislators about this, and any questions you have if you were to engage in a conversation with your legislators? Any supports I could offer? Do you feel like you have a little bit of a background about what this legislative agenda is all about? And are you clear on the ask and maybe why? I'm getting some head nods.
We'll have that opportunity in just a few minutes.
Exactly. And Donna, thanks. I'm so glad that you put that you're a grant recipient in the chat. And I will just highlight, this grants program is definitely open to family childcare providers. And I'm thrilled to say that in this year's grant round, we actually have 3 family childcare providers who networked together in the Chittenden County area and who received a $10,000 award. So this is open to family childcare providers, and we're thrilled about that. Betsy, I see you've got a raised hand.
I do. I was just wondering, one of the things outside of a day like today that really helps inform legislators how important this work is inviting them to your school or your center when there's some activity that they can really see what a difference it makes. So I just want to say, outside of today, which is really exciting, if you're doing a harvest dinner with parents, or you're doing even a field trip or something that really hands-on shows what this is about and the excitement of families and the kids, don't be shy about inviting your legislators and having them join. They love to be able to show up and really see what a difference all this makes. So I just wanted to mention that, because I know for the schools, having a meal at a school makes this huge difference where they really get it.
Thanks, Betsy. I really appreciate that. And, just for my own sort of background and love for this field, what I will say is behind the scenes, so this is our legislative ask, I will just put a plug in for the Vermont Farm to Early Childhood Coalition. And that coalition is really taking on some aspects about thinking about food security and meal service in the early childhood settings, and how and where we can leverage opportunities to ensure that early childhood providers have both the funding and the supports in place, the infrastructure in place, if they want to serve meals. And so you're probably aware that our partner, Hunger Free Vermont, has done some of you might be aware, has done a cost of meal study to figure out if you wanted to provide meals, or if you are providing meal service, what does that cost? What goes into that cost? And the reason that the coalition is helping with that effort is we're tying that back into Act 45 work. So that's the financing. That's a piece that if you're in one of the previous early childhood workforce and systems growing efforts, the legislative agenda, we're tying into some of that Let's Grow Kids work to ensure that when we look at financing high quality care in Vermont, that nutrition services and feeding kids is a component that is financed. And so this work is not, while our legislative ask specifically this year is around this grants program, what we want to do is really figure out how do we support kids and families accessing amazing food in our early childhood settings and make that truly a part of what is funded and supported, so it doesn't land on individual early childhood educators to figure that lift out. So just so you know, this movement is, yes, this is about the grants program, but it's also about really improving, I think, access to food and supports for our early childhood educators and our early childhood programs. So I do just want to take, are there any other questions? Thanks, Susan. I'm glad it's helpful. I will take just one more minute then. For those of you who weren't in a previous session, I'm going to take a page out of Jen Horowitz's presentation and just show you where you can find both the slides, and we also have a handout on Farm to Early Childhood that has some of our talking points in case you want to see it. So I'm going to do a quick screen share. So this really, what I hope you're seeing is the Huvo site, right? When you thank you, Darla. So I'm on the home screen here. So this is just what you would see when you first get in. And on this left-hand side, if you scroll all the way down to resources and you open up the resources, then there's a few additional pieces. And in the documents area, you will see a number of documents, and these two in particular are the ones for the Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants Program request. This first one is a handout, so here are some of the talking points and some of the messages around impact this grants program has had, and then these were the slides. So if you wanted to open up the slides and take another quick peek at some of the talking points on the last slide, they're here as well. And then I'll just put another plug in for the Let's Grow Kids team. Around this was their table remarks worksheet for the workforce and early childhood systems worksheet, in case you wanted to access that as well. So that's where you can find these resources for lunchtime conversations.